Hello students, today we will be studying the first lesson of social and political life, that is on equality. In this lesson we will be studying the social and political equality in India. So the lesson begins with Kanta's story. Kanta is a housemaid. She works at different places and earns her life. That is the election day. She goes for voting in the election, and she stands in the line. In the line she observes that irrespective of whether a person is a wealthy person, a rich person, poor person, a high grade officer, all of them are standing in the same line. So Kanta is very happy to see that in India equality is followed. But when she comes back home, she tells her friend that my daughter is not well and I have to give her medicine, but I cannot take leave also because I have to work at different places. Then she comes back home, gives some hot water to her daughter and says that when I will come back in the evening, then we will go to doctor. And while going out for her work, she observes that there are so much of unhygienic conditions are there around, and she thinks that no wonder this is the reason why my Budia or her daughter falls ill frequently. So this is political equality. What do you mean by political equality? Political equality says that all the adult citizen has a right to vote, which is called as universal adult franchise. And in India, above 18 years of age, where people can vote irrespective of any of the differences, and also people can contest the election when they attain the age of 25. So this is called as political equality. So we do have a political equality in India, but what about the social equality? Is in Indian society all the individuals are considered as equals? No discrimination is followed at all? That we have to see in this lesson. When Kanta was standing in a line for voting, she was happy that everyone, irrespective of any of the differences, are equal. But as her days goes on, Kanta becomes less certain about what this equality really means. But why Kanta was unsure about it? Kanta lives in a slum and she doesn't have the money also to take her daughter to doctor. So she asks her employer to give her some money. Employer gives the money but also says that don't make it a habit to ask for money before the month ends. Then she takes her daughter to the doctor. Her job as a domestic help tires her out, and finally she ends her day again by standing in a long line at the government hospital. And but this line is not in this line where she was standing in front of the government hospital is not the same line which she has seen in the morning. Here almost all the people are poor, and that is why Kanta thinks that in India, even though we have a political equality, there is no social equality. So in India, what different types of inequalities are followed, or what are the different bases on which the people are generally discriminated? In India, people are discriminated mainly on the basis of religion, caste, gender, economic status, that is rich or poor, and ethnicity, that is on the basis of their culture. One of the most common forms of inequality in India is the caste system. If you live in a rural area, then your caste identity can matter. That's something that you probably learned or experienced. But if you live in the urban India, some of you might think that people no longer believe in caste. But if you see some matrimonials in the newspaper, you will find that for marriages, most of the people they want girl or the boy from the same caste. Intercaste marriages are still not allowed in some of the families and some of the parts in India. So this caste inequality or the caste system which was there in India since the ancient time. Earlier it was called as the Varna system, which later degenerated into caste system. In this ladder, at the top there were Brahmins, that the people closest to God. Next stood the Kshatriyas, the warrior class. After them the Vaishyas, the business class, the traders. And then there were the Shudras, who were doing the menial jobs. This was the lowest caste of farmers and those who served other people. And below this were the untouchables, who were also known as Dalits. To understand how the caste system was followed in earlier times in India, let us read one story about one of the Dalit writer, Omprakash Valmiki. He was an Indian Dalit writer and a poet, and he is well known for his autobiography, which is named as Jhuthan. He was born at the village in Uttar Pradesh. He was admitted to the school with a great difficulty because he was a Dalit, but he was made to sit apart from the other boys at the back. Sometimes he would have been beaten without any reason as well. When he was in the class 4th, then his headmaster asked him to sweep the school and playground. The playground was very big, but he has to sweep the entire playground. His face used to get covered with the dust, but still he has to continue with that, and the other teachers and the children used to look at him, and he was not allowed to get a drink of water as well. One day his father was passing by the school when he saw Valmiki sweeping the ground, so he confronted the teachers and said that I am leaving you now, but remember, my son Valmiki will study in this school only. Not only he, but the other Dalit children will also study in the same school. So as you can see the picture of Omprakash Valmiki and his autobiography, which is a milestone in the literature in India, Jhuthan. Now, to understand the religious discrimination in India, let us read the story of Mr. and Mrs. Ansari. Based on the incident that took place in India's larger cities and is common practice in most parts of the country. Mr. and Mrs. Ansari were looking for an apartment on rent in the city. They had money, so paying the rent was not a problem. So they went to a property dealer. The dealer informed them that he knew about quite a few apartments which were available for rent. They visited the first apartment. Ansaris liked it and decided to take it. However, when the landlady found out their names, she made an excuse about how she could not rent the house to someone who ate meat because the building did not have any non-vegetarian residents. Both the Ansaris and the property dealer were surprised to hear this because they could smell fish being cooked in the neighbor's house. The same excuse was repeated in the second and the third apartment. Finally, the property dealer told them that they might want to change their name, as people do not like the people from the Muslim community to take their apartments on rent. So they could change the Ansaris could change their name to Mr. and Mrs. Kumar. The Ansaris were reluctant to do this, and that is why they decided to look some more apartments. But in the end, it took almost a whole month before they found a landlady who was willing to give them a place on rent. So from these stories, you now understood that the caste we are born into, the religion we practice, the class background we come from, whether we are male or female, these are the often basis that determine why some people are treated unequally. Omprakash Valmiki and the Ansaris were being treated unequally on the basis of differences of caste and religion. So, when persons are treated unequally, their dignity is violated. Omprakash Valmiki was treated unequally because of his caste. The Ansaris' dignity was also hurt when they were refused to give an apartment on rent because they were the Muslims. So, Omprakash and the Ansaris do not deserve to be treated like this. They deserve the same respect and dignity as anyone else. Thus, dignity or self-respect is very important in our life. Or in other words, you can say it is a key to a successful life. At any cost, we should not sacrifice our dignity or self-respect. Or as Dr. Ambedkar has quoted once, regarding self-respect. It is disgraceful to live at the cost of one's self-respect. Self-respect is the most vital factor in life. Without it, man is a cipher. What do you mean by cipher? A man who doesn't have any influence, a man who is not worthy of anything. To live worthily with self-respect, one has to overcome difficulties. It is out of hard and ceaseless struggle alone that one derives strength, confidence, and recognition. So, to end this social inequality, the Indian Constitution recognizes every person as equal. What does it mean? This means that every individual in the country, including male and female, persons from all castes, religions, tribes, educational and economical backgrounds, are recognized as equals. This recognition of equality says that all the persons, all the Indian citizens are provided with right to equality. Also, the other provisions in the Constitution states that every person is equal before the law. What this means? That every person, from the president of the country to Kanta, a domestic worker, has to obey the same laws. Also, persons cannot be discriminated on the basis of their religion, race, that is the color of the skin, caste, place of birth, or on the basis of gender as male or female. And all the persons have access to all the public places which are there in the country. This equality, which has been guaranteed to us by our constitution, the government tries to implement this equality through its various programs or the schemes so that the disadvantaged communities can be helped. One such program or the scheme started by the government is the midday meal scheme. This refers to the program introduced in all the government elementary schools to provide children with cooked lunch. This was first started in the state of Tamil Nadu, and in 2001 the Supreme Court asked all the state government to begin this program. Now, why this program was started? As I told you, to help the disadvantaged communities so that the enrollment in the school, especially in the villages, should increase. Also, the mothers of these children who live in the villages has to work on a daily wages. So they don't have the time to cook food. Otherwise, they have to interrupt their work to feed their children at home. And that is why now they don't have to do that. The children get this cooked and nutritious food in school. Also, all the children, they sit together without any discrimination being followed. So that is also one of the objective of this program. Also, in some of the schools, Dalit women, they have been employed to cook the meal, so that the midday meal program helps to reduce the hunger of the poor students who often come to school and cannot concentrate because their stomachs are empty. Now they can concentrate on their studies because they are getting this nutritious food cooked in school. Now let us watch one video about this midday meal scheme so that you will understand what this program has achieved. Equality is the basis of any democratic society, and in a democratic country like India, it is very important as India is very diverse as far as religion, caste and culture is concerned. And for that, equality has to be practiced because more equality brings in more hope, more humanity, more pride, more acceptance and more love. With the Indian Constitution and the Indian Parliament providing for the right to equality, it is expected that people should not discriminate on any of the basis. But still, at many places, discrimination is done because people refuse to think of other people as equals, even though the law requires it. One of the main reasons for this is that the attitude of the people will change very slowly. Even though people are aware that discrimination is against the law, they continue to treat people unequally on the basis of their caste, religion, disability, economic status and because they are different as far as the gender is concerned. It is only when people begin to believe that no one is inferior and that every person deserves to be treated with dignity, the present attitude can change. Students, you might be wondering whether India is the only democratic country in which there is inequality and where the struggle for equality continues to exist. No. In many of the democratic countries around the world, the issue of equality continues to be the key issue around which communities struggle. For example, in the United States of America, there was a movement for the equal rights for the blacks. In USA, the African Americans or the blacks or the Negroes, their ancestors were the slaves who were brought over from Africa. Until 1960s, the equal rights were not given to these African Americans or the blacks. So there was a racial discrimination, that is the discrimination on the basis of color of the skin was followed in USA. But how this protest started and why the equal rights were given to blacks. So listen to the story of Rosa Parks, a black lady. Rosa Parks was a Negro, and on the cold December evening in the 1955, she was, after a tiring day in the department store where she was working as a seamstress, she stepped onto the bus for the ride home and sat in the fifth row, the first row of the colored section. When the bus became, in USA, when the bus used to get full, the seats near the front were given to the white passengers. So, when the bus became full, the bus driver, James Blake, ordered Parks and the other 3 African Americans to move back, saying, actually he yelled at them saying that I want those 2 seats, you go at the back of the bus. The 3 riders complied, but Rosa Parks did not move from her seat. She said, I will not give this seat. As per Rosa Parks, people always said that I didn't give my seat because I was tired. But that isn't true. I was not tired physically. No, the only tired I was tired of giving it. So this denial of vacating the seat by Rosa Parks acted like a trigger, and the civil rights movement started in USA, led by Martin Luther King. And because of this struggle, this protest, finally the US government gave equal rights to blacks similar to what was given to the whites. So Rosa Parks, you can say, incited a movement. Actually, she started a revolution and achieved equality between, or racial equality between the blacks and the whites in USA. Thus, to conclude, we can say that in all the democratic countries, individuals try to expand the idea of democracy and push for a greater recognition of equality on existing as well as new issues. Central to this is the struggle for recognition of all persons as equal and for their dignity to be maintained. So we can say that even though persons are aware that the discrimination is against the law, sometimes the discrimination is followed. It is only when people begin to believe that no one is inferior, that every person deserves to be treated with dignity, that present attitudes can change. So, establishing equality in a democratic society is a continuous struggle, and one in which individuals as well as various communities and in India contribute to.